little too soon. This is the one and only, the legendary Mark Massaro. I'm here with my friend and co-host, Michelle Bader Ebersole. I'm so fancy at saying your name now. What's up, Michelle?
The legendary? What are you legendary for? Like your skate tricks and stuff?
Sure, yeah, let's go with that.
Or what else?
I don't know.
Just
I don't have anything. I just,
the legendary.
I'm just
No.
practicing my humility. I'm humble, and I like to express that through this podcast.
Yes, that's awesome.
I like to tell everybody how wonderful I am at being humble.
Yes.
So, the legendary. It's a very
Legendary.
humble statement that
It is.
says a lot about who I am. So,
Yeah. For sure.
anyways, how are you doing?
Good. Good now that everyone knows that you're legendary.
Yes.
I'm doing pretty good. It's been a super busy week. Super. Because we had Joel's parents and his sister, and his brother was here a little bit too. So it was like every day showing them different things like waterfalls. We went to this hike that had 7 waterfalls.
Did you
They
go chasing
loved
them?
it. I did. Do you remember that story I told you? We got to
Yes.
tell the audience. Have I told the audience before?
That a long time ago.
Years ago. So when I
Yes.
was in high school, back a few years ago,
Yeah.
TLC or TCL, no, TLC.
TLC.
They
Yeah.
sang the song "Don't Go Jason Waterfalls." I thought it was about a boy named Jason Waterfalls. And so we were in the car, me and my friends singing along, and I was like, "Why are you guys saying Jason? It's Jason." They're like, "No, it isn't." I'm like, "It is Jason Waterfalls. Don't go Jason Waterfalls." If you're a kid of the 90s, you're laughing right now.
Please don't go.
Please don't go. Yes. See, all these songs come back in your head. You know what I heard today on a podcast? If you are in like a down mood, just go to the songs that were popular when you were a junior and senior in high school and play it, and you're going to feel better. I was like, that's brilliant. That's true.
I do that anyways, pretty normally.
Right?
But anyways, I'm sorry. 7 waterfalls, Jason
No
Waterfalls.
But that's an interesting story.
Sorry, I was going to go off on another rant there, so.
Okay, waterfalls. Yes, it was beautiful, and it was still really wonderful weather. Like 90 one day in the 80s. It was just so beautiful. So we took them to we call it our river. There's a river right down the road from us that we go to. We went paddle boarding. We went just every day was like showing them the beautiful Northwest, and it was so much fun. And I loved having them here. We had room for all of them. Like when I moved after Luke died, one of my big things is I wanted a guest room. Never had one. So I love that we have a guest room. And then because Hayden's at college, we had his room open. So we had room for all 3 of them. And it was wonderful. And then we went to his cousin's wedding, which was gorgeous, like out in the country. And it was the wedding I was talking about that had Brazilian food, which was like
Yeah.
the chicken and steak and all kinds of beans.
And just for the sake of Joel, why don't you pronounce some of this stuff for us?
Well, the only thing they had there that I know how to pronounce is the little chocolate balls. They're called brigadeiros. Brigadeiros.
That sounded good. Joel, how was that? Was
I
that
know.
good?
Anybody out there that speak Portuguese know what I'm saying? And then the little cheese balls that we like to eat, which we had many mornings with his family. They're called
Were those
wait,
Oh, go ahead.
pão de queijos. See, that makes
Ah.
sense. Queijo, pão de queijo. It's very similar to Spanish.
I thought it was going to be queso de poquito.
A little bit of cheese.
I don't know.
That's some Spanish. But like Joel can understand Spanish usually. He can't really speak it, but he can understand it because it's very similar. So
That makes
anyways,
sense.
the wedding was beautiful. Like I just love going to weddings with Joel. That was our 3rd one since we've been married. It's 3rd one.
Wow.
Yeah.
Everybody
And
getting
it
married.
was- Yes, and it was so beautiful. And of course, there was dancing, and he has become a dancer for me. That is not his thing, but he does it for me, and it's so sweet.
I admire your courage, Joel.
I know he does a great job, and it's so cute because he's trying, and he just he gets out there with me because he knows I love it. And I don't know, being at weddings. So here's a story.
Of a lovely lady.
No, we're not going into the wedding bench. Okay, so anyways, when I was first married the first time to Luke, I could not go to weddings like afterwards because he got sick immediately. So every time I went to a wedding, it reminded me of my happy day that turned bad really fast. And so I had a hard time. And then he just was not physically able. I think he went to 1 or 2 weddings with me ever in the whole 17 years. But it's different. Like, it's a different feeling with Joel because, for one, it's like love after loss. Like, it's a whole different thing. Just so grateful and thankful and all of that stuff. And then we haven't, 6 months into my marriage with Luke, we were already doing chemo and all of that stuff. Like, I can't imagine that. So that's the other thing that happened. Not March, what month are we in? September 18th was our 6-month anniversary.
Nice.
I know we didn't really celebrate, but we had company here and everything. And he's like, 6 months. I'm like, yeah, it's a big deal. Like, we should celebrate 6 months.
Is it though? Anniversary. Anniversary. Annual.
Well, I told him we're going to celebrate every 6 months.
There you go. Half anniversary.
Yeah, so it just made me so happy. And I made a post, and so a lot of you might have seen it, that like, this is not to brag, because it's not like, I'm married. It's about like, there is love after loss, and wait for someone who like really understands your grief and respects your late spouse and all that stuff.
Yeah, and doesn't it feel it feels like magical to like be in love again, and it has I don't know, there's something like you're just so deeply grateful and appreciative, and I know we had that with our first spouses. Obviously, I was deeply appreciative for Lacey and everything. There is something so special though about getting a chance to feel that way again. Yeah. And I don't know. It's there's both sides of it, because it's really hard too. It's really hard to love somebody again sometimes when anything comes up for you in your grief. There's this feeling of like, I should be grateful. I should be grateful. I should be grateful. But like, your feelings of the grief are still very real, and you still really, really miss. Like, I really miss Lacey, and there's so many days where I'm just like, oh gosh, like I just miss her. But like we've said before, all of those feelings can coexist together. They don't have to cancel each other out. Yeah. But anyways, so carry on my wayward son.
I don't know that one.
What?
Sometimes I think you just make them up. Like,
I wish I was that talented.
What is that song?
I think it's Foreigner or Journey. I don't know. It's some 70s hair band.
Okay.
I like classic rock along with hip hop. That's how I roll. I like all kinds of music. My favorite band of all time is the Beatles. So. Really? Yeah.
Do you know they sing a song with my name in it?
Michelle. Yes, of course I do. That was so close. Except they do actually sing it in English. It's not a French song.
I need you. I need you. Yes. So people, when they meet me, not so much younger people, but older people, it happened the other day. Once they hear my name, they start singing Michelle, my belle. I'm like, I haven't heard that before.
100 times. Yeah, that's like me saying I've never heard anybody call me Marky Mark in the Funky Bunch.
Yeah, sure.
They're like, hey Mark, where's the Funky Bunch?
Oh my
like, oh, never heard that one before.
That doesn't get old. Anyways, back to
sorry.
So sidetracked. We haven't even got to the topic
we are.
yet. I'm just talking about. Okay. Anyways, it was great when Joel's family was here. Loved having them here, and they're just amazing people. Like, they'd go out and like work on our yard and cook things, and I'm just cleaning the microwave, I'm just doing this. I'm just like, it was so great. And I'm like, thank you. They just wanted to like help and do all these things and be so helpful, and it was really fun too. His sister stayed a day later than his parents, and so I got a lot of time. Joel was at work. I got like a lot of one-on-one time with her, which was really great to get to know a new sister-in-law, and I just feel so blessed. It's like I have like 2 sets of in-laws now, and I have more sister-in-laws, and like it's just a whole new world. And so it's been really fun getting to know
really?
A whole new
Okay.
world.
I was like, you're just going to pass that? I don't know how you were going to pass that up.
Yeah. Okay, let me tell one more thing, and then we'll move to you. So really exciting. So Haley's senior year in choir, she really wanted to be president of the choir, and they voted last Friday, and she won. So very excited for her. Yes. So I'll just keep talking. Anyway, so yes, she got to become the president. And that just basically means that she is going to. Oh, there you are.
I don't know what happened. That was weird. Sorry.
Bueller. That's what I was going to
I
say.
heard you the whole time.
Oh, okay. Anyways.
I said, no way. That's awesome about
Oh,
Haley.
so, none of the people heard you say any of that, but that's good. It just sounded like you were silent.
That's all right.
Anyways.
That's probably a good thing for some
Yeah.
people. Don't agree with me.
Okay. Anyways, let me get through what I want to say.
Yeah, sorry.
Anyways, she's president. She's happy. I'm proud of her. I'm excited for her. And yeah, it's great to see her in something she loves and flourishing. And we're starting to talk about college. And it's just kind of a crazy world that she's in her last year of high school. So that's been the new thing happening. And then I think I shared this before, but Joel's been taking Peyton driving, which is awesome. Because they say he's way more relaxed than me, and it's just easier with him. So that's great. I just get a little uptight when my kids are driving. I heard
That would be
Hayden
nerve-wracking.
It is. Just wait. I heard Hayden say to Peyton, "Does she do the air brake thing she did with me?" So I would put like my foot like on the almost the dashboard, like when I'm in the passenger seat, I put it up and like push on it, like
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, I did a lot for Haley. I haven't done it as much with Peyton. But anyways, okay. Enough about my
Are you
stuff.
steering too?
No.
Anyways.
Your turn. What's been going on with you?
Well, I'm now doubting myself over something I said a minute ago. I'm starting to think that they do not make the song by the Beatles, Michelle, in English. I thought that there was a...
Well, there is part of it that's in English.
Well,
It's
yeah,
in
part of
both.
it's in English, but it's like, yeah, it is like, what is it, French or something? But like,
Yes.
I thought I don't know, it was weird. I was like thinking about it. I think I'm mixing up two songs because there's a couple songs they have that they did in a couple languages. But anyways, super important information.
It's very important.
I just speak what's on my mind. I'm
I
sorry.
know.
So anyways, I've actually had some cool stuff going on, believe it or not.
Okay, let's hear it.
So Tina came and visited, which was amazing.
Tina.
And Tina. was rad.
Well, I was thinking how I used to have to say mystery girl.
Yeah.
But now I
Yeah.
know the name.
Yep. So anyways, so her car had some issues, which, is obviously a bummer. But it was something that as I looked at that I was like, we need to like take this somewhere because I can't get under the car. And so it was kind of a bummer, but secretly inside I was happy because she stayed longer.
Nice.
So selfish.
out.
What a jerk. But anyways, so anyways, that was super cool. We went to Cades Cove again, which is so beautiful. But this time we rented a Polaris Razor, which are like
I saw
those
pictures.
4-seater,
Yeah.
like, and so it was such a different perspective cruising through it's this loop through the Smoky Mountains, and it's like a 13-mile loop. So you take it real slow and you see all this neat stuff on the way. It's just so beautiful. But now this was like from a different perspective because first of all, I drive a Subaru Ascent, so it's it's a third row SUV. It's kind of tall compared to like what I'm used to driving. I've always been in like small like little race cars. That's how I roll. But now I'm all used to like sitting up high. But in this thing you're a lot lower and it's like open air. So, it's like it just feels like Tina explained it or described it as like it feels like you're like kind of on like a tour. Of like the part, it was just a totally different perspective. So it was really neat. We had a great time. And then we saw a baby coyote just like
Nice.
cruising around on the trail. And so we stopped. He was like right next to us, which was awesome. And then when we got to the end, I finally saw bears there. I don't know if you
Yay.
remember me telling you that I was like starting to doubt whether they really lived there or not. Because everybody tells me every time they go there, they see bears. And I'm like, I've been like 6 or 7 times. I've never seen bears. We saw a family of black bears. I was surprised how small they are.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like I thought, I'm expecting this big old bear. I mean,
Yeah.
I still would have got out and fought him, but
Right.
it just wasn't as intimidating as I thought it would be to run into a bear. But these were probably like small ones, 'Cause it was like a mom and her cubs. And so anyways, it was just like they looked like about the size of big dogs.
Oh.
I was really surprised.
Boy.
So anyways,
Wow.
let's see. I went with my son to his school for what was it? Parent night. No, I didn't go. I'm sorry. I didn't go with him. I went to his school, and he's doing really well. It's awesome.
Good.
Like he's in first grade, but he was testing at 2.4, which is second grade in 4 months. He's in the top 99th percentile and then top 98th percent. Anyway, he's doing awesome. That was cool. And I built a toolbox with Alexis. I found this little hammer that I got her a long time ago. It's just a little cute little, it's a real hammer, but it's tiny,
Was it hammer time?
It was hammer time.
I
Yes.
just had to.
You had to. Stop. Hammer
Collaborate
time.
and listen. Oh,
Oh, that would have been
okay.
good too.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry. Go
Mark
ahead.
is back with a brand new edition. Anyways, what was I talking about? Yeah, so we built the toolbox together. We painted it, and yeah, we were talking about hammer time. So, anyways, that was super cool. It was some good daddy-daughter time. And
so
Luke
fun.
has just gotten over a cold, so we actually had some good father-son time, and I'm thankful that I didn't
Good.
get sick. You know, because I'm so humble, I don't mind expressing this. I have a phenomenal immune system, apparently.
Nice.
They get sick, and I just don't get it. So I think it's because I've had all of their colds before. I probably just jinxed it. I'm probably going to get sick in the next couple of days. Anyways, so you know what I should have gone with? I should have gone with the honorable Mark Massaro presiding over this podcast.
The humble.
Anyways, the humble, the one and only.
You know what kind of bugs me is when people say humble. Like when
Humble? I never heard that.
an honoring. Wait, that one you say like that. No. I was trying to think of words where there's an H and people don't say. Anyways, honoring, you don't say it. Honoring.
Honor.
No, but like, when we like, yeah, he's really humble. Have you not heard that?
I've never heard that. Must be a Washington thing.
No, it's like a Southern thing. And like, sometimes people don't say the H's.
That is amazing. I've never heard that.
Okay,
That's funny.
I'm gonna find that somewhere.
Humble.
Anyways,
They're not on my level of humble. I'll just say that. No
anyway.
matter how humble they are. So for me, one of those pet peeves is when someone says, I couldn't care less.
Because it's like couldn't.
Because that's
care.
not really the saying.
Yeah.
Anyways. So what am I talking about here? Okay, so
Okay,
sorry,
let's
bringing it on
title.
back. I'm sorry, I got distracted. I was trying to think of more of those things because I know there's a few of those. So today we are going to be talking about how to make purpose out of your pain. Boom. Give
That's
Michelle the props for this one. This is a Michelle title, so Michelle.
Well, you had the clue.
Let's give them something to talk about. Ooh. I don't think it does that.
Okay.
Anyways, so
Are you asking me to
talk about it. Yeah,
Oh, you
come
want
on.
me to talk about it? That's why you said that. Okay. Let's see. What does this mean? So it's funny.
You're so humble.
I'm so humble. So in case our super fans, super
Oh,
fans, you guys know I like super freak, super fan. Anyways, what were we?
the kind you don't bring on the podcast.
Super freak fan, super fan. Okay, what I was trying to say, in case our super fans are wondering how we come up with our topics, it's a long 1 month process.
Yes.
Or sometimes we just think about it. No, this is what's crazy. This is how we know we're supposed to talk about this. We both came up with the same topic, just a little different titles, but it was like literally the same subject. Let's talk about like how you can use your pain for purpose, like the things that you've been through. So what this means to me is like we didn't just go through this stuff to sit here and have cats and do nothing with our lives. I'm just thinking old cat lady sitting alone. But we were made, John 10:10 says, the thief comes to steal and destroy, but I've come to give you life and give you life abundantly, or to the full. Either way. That's kind of a theme verse for Widow Goals. And basically what that means is like, we have a whole life in front of us. If you're alive and you're listening to this, God's not done with you. Like, there's so much more for you. Word. And so that's really what this topic means to me, is like, how do I do that? Okay. So we know some of you are brand new, and that's fine. You may not be in the place where you, like, maybe right now you just need to like take and listen, but you might be someone who's a few months into this, a year, wherever, where you're feeling like, I'm doing a little better. I want to help somebody else. Like, what do I do? And so it means looking for the opportunity. So I remember when I was a brand new baby widow.
Just a baby widow.
Just a baby widow. I reached out to all the widows I knew, which God had put, I think, 7 in my life, which most widows don't have that I knew from different places, like different ages. And I called them all and just wanted to know that it would get better. And almost all of them told me it would. But I also learned over time, like we talked about last time, like it's what you do with the time. It's not just time. But I remember like people, I would reach out to people. I remember the first remarried widow I reached out to, how helpful that was to me. And like, I just reached out to people. So then like a few months later, when I was feeling better, then it was like, I want to help people. So my first step, I'm trying to remember, like the very first thing when I turned it around was like, how can I help other people? I think it was after I went to the grief retreat where, you know, God had told me all these things that I've shared before. And I felt like now it's time for me to help other people. I think the first thing I did is, I think that's when I decided to write a book. Now this doesn't have to be everybody, but I think this is my very first move I did. No, social media came first. That very first thing I did was create social media. I think that's when I created my Instagram Widow Goals. And I was like, I just want to be an encouragement. And so at that point, I just would I remember looking up grief quotes and posting them. Like that's really all it consisted of. And so that was the way that I was able to start giving back. And then it grew from there. And I think I didn't start my TikTok for like another year. I think then I started my podcast, Widow Goals, which you can look it up. It's still there. I think there's still like 10 episodes. And actually, that's how a few people have told us that they found us from that.
Right, yeah.
I have gone back to all of those and put a link to this podcast. Like if you like this, listen to this. This is my current podcast, and I link it here. So I started that, just me and a microphone talking and saying like, here's your first goal, get out of bed, you know, and then from there, I decided to write a book. And that's when I entered this contest for the book proposal boot camp, which is put on by Proverbs 31 Women. And I wrote a book, like, here's the book I want to write. And I was chosen, like 100 people out of like 800 were chosen, and I was one of them. And then I was able to go through this boot camp and have this professional writer look at all my writing and make the manuscript, which I still have not completed, but I started. And then from there, I think that is a little bit after that is when we decided to start our podcast. And do that. But I want to bring it down. You guys don't have to write a book and do a podcast. Like, let's bring it back. Not everybody is like a big picture like me. Like, what?
Start a multinational company.
Right. So let's bring it. What did you do? Because I know you've given back besides the podcast. Like, when did you first feel like you could give back, and what are some of the first things that you did?
Well, I was taking from like posts and things like that on Facebook. Like I needed prayers. I needed a lot of prayers. And so I was in a phase of like just not really doing anything. Mm-hmm. But for me, it was like I started trying to help people with things, getting back to like normal things that I did, which was like, I could fix that for you. Oh, I'll do that. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. But also like life was just so crazy. Like with having little kids and you know what I mean? And trying to figure out how to like put everything together, put all these pieces together that was like so complicated. But I will say that making purpose out of pain, making purpose out of my pain was something that I did even before Lacey died. I just felt so led by God to used this story, and not necessarily the story as much as trying to be a witness, trying to show people that even though we're going through hell, God is still good. And trying to help everybody see, like, I don't know, there's this this part of me that I was kind of like relating to Job, and I know I didn't have it as bad as Job, even as bad as it was, but I related to his suffering, and I looked at the way that he behaved towards God, that he was still praising God's name. And
Right.
so for me, that's something that I feel like should be the focus for anybody, because as we've said on this podcast, if your friends know that you're a Christian and they are not, they are going to be watching you to see if you still believe in the face of adversity what you say you believe. Because, you know, a lot of people say that it's easy to be a Christian when everything's good, when everything's going well. It's easy to be, you know, a positive thinking, upbeat Christian that talks about how great God is. But when you're thrown in the furnace and the heat's turned up all the way, are you still going to proclaim God's goodness? And so it's like what Job said is, what am I going to only praise him in the good times and curse him in the bad? And he was saying that like rhetorically, like, what, am I only going to praise him when my life is good? And I really related to that. And so I just, you know, I found strength in that. I found like the Lord gave me strength through that by telling people, I don't care how bad it gets. I don't even want to say this because I know you're going to start singing.
I'm getting ready.
But Satan can't touch my salvation.
Can't touch this. No, 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 no. Can't touch this. That's probably the most frequent.
I've set you up on that like 4 times. And it's funny because this is the first time I actually caught it in advance and like knew I was about to set you up on it. So anyways, that's kind of what it means to me. But it was, it took me a little while before I was able to start thinking about serving again. But I wanted to, my heart was there, but I just couldn't bring myself to do it for quite a while. And so I would say that besides the stuff I just mentioned, that probably the podcast was the first real thing that I was actually like trying to give back, where I felt empathy for, just to be honest, somebody besides myself. Or felt, you know what I mean? Like was starting to feel normal again. You know what I mean? Yeah. So anyways, yeah. So yeah, that's kind of, my opening statement.
Okay. And I feel like the podcast and then like all the Facebook groups and stuff led to other people, you know, being able to help those other people. And while you were talking, I was thinking about, okay, pain from our purpose, purpose from our pain, said it backwards. Doesn't have to be just giving back to like the widow community. It could be, like you said, you were getting back to normal so you could do the things that you used to do. Like if you used to serve doing this, you'd be able to do that. So I want you guys to think bigger than just the widow community. Like you can give back by just going and serving at your church for anything.
Yeah.
I know that's one of the best ways to like get your mind off of yourself, is to go and serve at church or go somewhere and listen to somebody else. It actually like encourages me when I have a chance to sit and listen to somebody else talk about all of their stuff and, you know, be a listening ear. So something in grief recovery that you do is when someone's talking, they're pouring out their heart. You are not allowed to say one word. Like it is like a really hard discipline, but it is so good. And it's just teaching us, like, we really, like if somebody is sharing their stuff and we're like rubbing their back, offering them a Kleenex, we are actually disrupting their grief. And so we need to actually let them feel it. And so like letting people just talk and listen without feeling like you have to make them feel better. Just be a listening ear. It's super cheesy, that this little illustration, but they're like, we are a heart with ears. And they actually have a picture of a heart with ears. But it's the point of like learning to do that, like learning to just listen.
Yeah.
and you don't have to come up with all of like the things and all the stuff. And
That is challenging sometimes, but that is such a witness. And if, especially like, so let's say your church, everybody knows what you, the audience, have been through, right? If you go to a church, everybody knows that you're semi-recently widowed, if not really recently widowed. And so let's say everybody at your church knows that about you, but you know that, let's say there is a mother at work who's going through postpartum depression, or maybe their child is going in for a surgery, a basic surgery, but the mother is still afraid or nervous and asking for prayers. Like, it is such a powerful witness for you to call them and say, hey, I just wanted to like pray with you real quick and know that I'm thinking about you tomorrow with your son's surgery, or, you know, I know you're going through this depression. Is there anything I can do for you? Can I bring you, like, how about I bring you lunch tomorrow and just come pray with you? If you don't want company, I'll just drop it off and leave. But I really feel led to do something for you. They're going to be so floored that the person who's going through what you're going through is willing to reach out to them. It's such a powerful testimony of God's healing grace, you know, and that he's still, you know, we're commanded to love others, and that command isn't seized because we're going through something hard. Now, of course, there's understanding when you're, you know what I mean, when all we can think about as humans is ourselves and what we are going through. But you will come to a point in your grief, let's say you're in the beginning right now, and you can't imagine even getting out of bed.
Right.
Well, maybe after a week or two, okay, maybe you're able to get out of bed now. But just being real, maybe it's been hard for you to get up and take a shower. Well, maybe then after like a week, you can take a shower. You know what I mean? Just these little things. You're starting these steps. But so after 2 months, maybe you do feel like, okay, like, you know what? I know that woman is having problem. You know, I'm obviously speaking to other women. That you may know, like, that there's a woman at the church that is going through problems with her marriage, and you say like, hey, would you want to go for like a walk on Saturday morning and just kind of, you know, tell me what's in your heart and what's going on or whatever, you know? Anyways, people get the point. But like, I just think it's such a powerful witness for you to be able to reach out to others, especially to your non-believing friends. Mm-hmm. That is just, they're going to be like, how are you? I remember I had a friend that I still have him. But at the time, I had a friend that I went over to his house to buy a computer from him, the laptop that I'm using now, actually. And he said, and he's been an atheist as long as I've known him. And he said, I don't know how you're doing it, man. And I said, well, you know, I know we have different beliefs, and so I don't mean this in any disrespectful way, but you know what I believe? It's God. It's God, man. There's no doubt in my mind that God is carrying me through this. And he said, no. And I thought he was doing his normal, like, no, there is no God. I mean, he's such an atheist. He was such an atheist that if he sneezed and I say, bless you, he'd say, there is no God. It was that bad. So, anyways, so he said, no. And I was like, oh, here we go. I offended him or whatever, you know? And he's like, no, I think you're right. And I've been thinking about this ever since Lacey's service. And, yeah, I don't know. I've been thinking about things a lot lately, and I was like, whoa, that's crazy. So you never know the witness that you're being. And here's another one of those things that friend of mine, I don't know of a time, as long as I've known him for like 24, 25 years, that he has ever stepped foot in a church.
Wow.
And I'm not saying he hasn't. I'm just saying I don't know of any time. But I told my pastor at Lacey's Celebration of Life, there are going to be people here that do not know Jesus. I really want you to preach the gospel. And so he shared the gospel at Lacey's Celebration of Life, and a lot of people heard it. So that is a great example of God using our pain for purpose. And if Lacey died, as I've said before in this podcast many moons ago, if Lacey dying, which is heartbreaking for me, my kids, obviously Lacey's family, it's heartbreaking for all of us, but we're all believers. We all know Lacey went to paradise. If Lacey died and went to paradise, and through that, because of that, people got saved and are now going to go to heaven because Lacey died, then as hard as it is to say, my biblical knowledge tells me that it is worth it by a lot for those people to now forever have salvation in Christ.
Right.
So anyways, yeah, purpose from pain,
Yeah,
house of
that's it.
pain, I jump around. Sorry.
Get down, get down. Why did you say House of Pain? Is that what they're called?
Yeah, that's the name of the band. Sorry.
Interesting.
I'm losing you today. Sorry.
Okay, so I wanted
Let's
to
see this
share-
kid. He walks in. My son just walked in right now with a massive box of tricks and is asking me if he
Nice.
can have a bowl of cereal. Not right now, buddy.
Silly
Please close the
rabbit.
door.
Tricks are
Silly
for
rabbit.
kids. Remember that?
Now, right. You can have a handful, buddy. Yes, I do.
I do like tricks. Those are good. Anyways, okay. So
That was awesome.
I wanted to share something that I used to do that reminds me of what I should do again. So I used to pick somebody. You could use Facebook or just somebody in your contact list, and I would, send a message or a text, someone different every single day, and just reach out to them. I might say something like, "How can I pray for you?" Like, just a nice, encouraging message, or maybe share something about how they've helped me through something or whatever. Just pick a person and reach out to them, and you have no idea how that might help them, which reminds me, like, I want to do this again. And especially Facebook, people are used to people reaching out. I am guilty in the past for network marketing or whatever. And so to just simply be like, thinking about you today, can I pray for you? Like, that's huge.
Yeah. I call him and say, gonna say a little prayer for you.
Forever. Forever. Stay in my heart. Stay in my heart.
We're so good. I don't know. I thought it was Never Will Part.
Oh, that too. I think it's both. Best Friends
Jason
Wedding, great
Jason Waterfalls.
Jason Waterfalls. Anyway,
It's Jason Waterfalls all over again.
I get distracted from what we're talking about.
I'm sorry. That's totally my fault. Calling
No.
people and saying a little prayer
Yes.
for them.
Yes. Anyways, being serious, like reaching
Yeah.
out to people, or even better, if it's someone you know personally, like call them. But like it just encourages me to reach out. And I have so many widows on my Facebook. Like I could definitely just start reaching out to widows and how can I pray for you and all of that stuff. So it doesn't have to be some big write a book or make a podcast.
Right.
We can start out simple. If there's no like widow groups in your area, start one. You can make a Facebook group, you can make a meetup group, and you start being the light. You start being the person to help the other people. And not only does it help yourself because you're helping others, you're helping others as you help yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
I
really
like
deep
that.
thought.
That's deep.
Really, really deep.
I mean,
thoughts.
you can do it like it can be like from the moment you wake up. Before
Like,
you
put your
even put
makeup.
on your makeup.
You can say, like, I know when you're going to say something actual and when you're going to say words from a song, you have a different look on your face. Or, like, when you're thinking it, you're trying to hold it until you have a second to say it. You're, like, holding the thought, and then you're like, yeah, it just, no. Great.
Yeah. We've been
Fine.
podcasting together a while now.
Yeah, about to be 100 episodes. Side note, tune in for episode 100 when we do a live show. More details
I'm so
to
nervous
come.
about that.
Oh, I love it. Like, we used
It's
to do
cool.
live Instagrams. Remember that?
I do.
Back in the day, like,
Those made me
years ago.
nervous too.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's right.
But that was cool. Yeah, we'd go on live Instagram and we'd have people send in
Say a little
prayers. We'd say a little prayer for them right there on the spot.
Forever and never. Anyways, let's get back.
Would only be heartbreak for me.
Whoa, that's really low. Okay, people are probably sick of it. They've like tuned us out. They're done.
There's
But
a
that's
stop
okay.
button.
There is, and there's like.
Please
fast
don't hit
forward,
it.
Or
Please don't
you can link us
go.
on- Please don't go. Okay. Anyways,
I just got a lot of melodies in my head today, apparently.
I know it's been like a million of them, but we need to like stop, collaborate, and listen.
I'm not going to do it. All right, there you go.
Michelle is back with a brand new invention. Okay, anyways, let's get back to the subject at hand, okay?
Back to the subject at hand. Never mind.
That's not a real song.
No, it's
Anyways,
lecture.
Okay, so reaching out to people. That's a good practical step that everybody could do today if they're feeling up to it. If you're a baby widow and you don't feel up to it, that's okay. I'm
Yeah.
just trying to give them like practical ideas. And like really looking, praying for opportunities. God, who can I help today? Whether it's another widow or it's somebody completely different. Like how can you use my story? How can you make beauty out of these ashes? How can you turn this mourning into dancing? Like how can you use me? And your life like is a testimony. They're seeing how you're handling this.
Yeah.
And they're, watching you and all the stuff. Like, do you have more ideas?
Well, I had a story. Well, not,
Okay.
I mean,
Story
so
time.
somebody, I was at the office last week, whatever day it was. I think it was I don't know, whatever, maybe Tuesday. And the lady at the front desk comes in and says, "Hey, there's a walk-in customer, and we don't have anybody on the floor. Would you like to take them?" And I was like, "Yeah, definitely." So I brought this older couple into my office, and we sat down and we got to chatting about, what kind of property they're looking for and all this stuff. And the guy says, "Well, because, I lost my wife."
Mm.
And I was like, "Oh, really?" And then she's like, "Yeah, and I lost my husband, and then we found each other and got
Oh,
married." And I was like, "Oh my gosh. Okay, well, I have to share with you that like I'm also widowed." And they were like, "Oh my gosh." And we just sat there talking about all this stuff for so long and how beautiful it is to find love again. And so and then check this out. I've talked about this on the podcast before. The guy told me, I didn't say anything about it. The guy told me, he said, "Well, it's great." And I said, "It's so nice that you have somebody that understands, right?" And they both like nodded with this big smile on their face. And he said, "Well, yeah, I have." So he's all up on our wall. There's a picture of me and my late wife, a picture of her and her late husband, and then a picture of the two of us in the middle. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, like we're going to do that same thing. That's
yeah.
so awesome." So we just, and then I took them around and showed them a few houses. And so I'm probably going to help them. But the lady said to me, she noticed I had some decorations on the wall with some scriptures on it. And they mentioned the Lord. And so I was like, "Well, it's very different for us as believers, isn't it?" And she's like, "Yeah." And she just like kind of shook her head and she's like, "Gosh, the Lord works in funny ways." Cause like I knew we were supposed to come in here,
Oh,
and
that's
just talking to you, like I just know that we're supposed to be working with you. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's like so awesome." So anyways, it was a really neat experience. And so just in that, God was using what I've been through, my pain, for his purpose, to sit there and talk about, to make somebody feel comfortable, and to because they had some stuff with family stuff. And so for them to like feel encouraged that what they had going was fantastic was
Yeah, that's
it
awesome.
was kind of neat. It was like all the stuff we talk about on the podcast, I was like able to share with them, and they were like, "Oh yeah," they were a sweet couple. So it was awesome.
I kind of had similar but different happen. I just thought of this at the wedding. So I'm out on the dance floor dancing away, and then Joel's aunt and sister were at this table, and they're like, "Come over here." And they're like, I had already met this lady, but I didn't know her story yet. They're like, "We were just telling her about your retreat and that you were widowed, and they'd love to talk to you." And I was able to connect with this lady who'd been widowed for a while and how she had never really found a community of people. And then another lady was at the table. She's like, "Oh, I know someone who was just widowed. Can I have your information?" I sent them both my websites, and maybe they'll come to the retreat. I don't know, but it was just cool, like making these connections, and just
That's
praying.
awesome.
And there is this weird sisterhood, brotherhood kind of thing when you meet someone who's widowed. Like,
Yeah,
you get it. Like,
part of the club.
we're part of this club.
It's a
We're
club that none of
together.
us wanted to be part of, but we're all
Never
part of a
wanted,
club.
yeah, to be part of. So anyways, it's interesting and something beautiful they did at the wedding. So Joel's aunt, I guess, had no, she's not. She's like a cousin, whatever. there's this guy who's related to Joel through distance. His wife had passed away a few years ago, and they put a chair with a rose on it, and it said "in honor and memory of," and had her name on it. And then they
Oh,
had one
that's
on the other
awesome.
side for somebody else, and I was like, "That's beautiful." Like, I hope
Yeah.
my kids want to do something like that
Hmm.
someday. But I just thought I've never seen that at a wedding, and I thought it was really beautiful. So that's just
I like that.
a little side note. I was like, okay, I love that. I love that, like honoring. We had that at my wedding. Well, the only thing we had is I had a little sign that said like in memory of those we've lost or something like that, and it had little
Mm.
candles behind it. So I wanted, like, I had thought about doing this whole thing with like everyone we lost, like grandparents, this and that, and it was like too much. And anyways, everybody does it differently, but obviously everyone at my wedding knew what that meant.
Yeah, yeah.
But going back to the subject at hand, I don't know what else to say about it, but really looking for those opportunities, praying about how God wants to use you. If there's like, maybe letting the pastor at your church know, like, if there's a new widow, I'd love to talk to them. Like all of my friends knew and still know, like, I'm the go-to widow. Like, if they know someone who's widowed, they send them to me.
Mm.
And that's what Stacy, who's been on here a couple times, that's who she was for me. She reached out to me, and she is that to so many people. She is like the widow person. And so she reached out to me in the beginning, and it's a big part of like where I am today.
Hmm.
So yeah, like praying for people to reach out to, making yourself available, not just staying in your room, not doing anything, like living life and living life abundantly. So
Mm.
that's all I got to say
And
about
and I think it's important for people to know that we're not saying to turn off your grief.
that. Oh, yeah, yeah.
You can do this stuff like even if you're grieving, or if you don't feel like doing it one day because you're having grief. That's obviously not what we're talking about. So I don't want
No.
anybody to. I was just thinking about somebody who might be thinking like, "Gosh, I can't think about doing anything
Right.
like that right
Right.
now."
Oh,
And we
yeah,
kind
yeah.
of covered it, But I just wanted to reiterate that in case I don't want people to ever think there's something wrong with them because
Right.
they don't relate to what we're saying or whatever. You also have to remember that we're both over 3 years out,
Mm-hmm.
which is crazy.
Crazy. Very crazy.
That's crazy. That kind of hit me. I was like, oh my gosh, like she's been gone for 3 years. It's just crazy.
It is.
But yeah, I think just because, first of all, we're all children of God, and no matter what we've been through, what He's done for us is beyond measure, and we should always be willing, ready, and able to express our gratitude for that through our actions, through the fruits of our labor. And also because it does help you. In your grief, it will help you so much to help somebody else. But yeah, I mean, write some beautiful Facebook posts. Like, I would encourage you to like be vulnerable
Yeah.
and talk about God's grace. Write a post about God's grace, something like that, a blog or whatever you do, So, because not only will it help other people, it will help you, and it will also help you to know that you're helping others. So that's the way we're supposed to live our lives as Christians, as believers. And sometimes it's hard when we lose our spouse to find a new identity. So remember that your identity is in Christ and not in your marriage.
That's good. I want to
That's
share
all I have to
something.
say about
I
that.
know that
Go ahead.
every time. So this isn't really the topic, but
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of a mom brag, and I just think it's really awesome. So on Instagram, Peyton, this is him talking at Heart Change. He wrote this yesterday, so I just wanted to share it. For 15 years, I've struggled with severe anxiety. Once I got close to Jesus, I spent a lot of time in prayer asking the Lord to take the anxiety off of me because I know He can. I started to notice that I gained so much more confidence while at school, church, or just in general. Jesus had restored so many things that I lost in my life, and I can't thank Him enough. There was no medication that could cure my anxiety. It was all Jesus. Jesus can heal from depression, anxiety, thoughts of ending your life, other mental thoughts, and so much more. I'm proof that Jesus really is real and cares for us so deeply. The point is that the Lord wants to know you and wants to bless you. He's knocking at the door, and you just got to open it. He'll give you joy, purpose, motivation, peace, and a drive for success like he has for me. None of this was coincidental. Jesus was just trying to get my attention, and I'm so glad I let him in.
Wow.
That's
How old is he?
He's 15.
14, 15? Wow.
And that's from a boy who lost his dad at 12 years old.
Oh, that's amazing.
Really, I know he's really, which I haven't like talked about him much at all. He has really grown spiritually in the last 6 months. He went to youth group and some things happened and pastor prayed over him, and like he's like listening to worship music all the time now, and he's using his platform. He has a pretty big YouTube channel now, and his TikTok and his Instagram to talk about Jesus. And I like couldn't be like more proud.
That's amazing
That he is doing that. And so like if he can heal that little boy's heart to be where he is today, he can heal yours and all of ours. And it's just, it's so beautiful just to see the healing that's happened, because he seemed kind of like depressed for a while. He'd barely talk to anybody. And now he's like just a different person, like really just wanting to tell everybody about Jesus, and like just it's been amazing.
That's awesome. You should ask him if it's okay to share that on our page.
Oh yeah, I'm sure he'll say yes, but I will ask him.
That'd be awesome.
He put it on his Instagram on his public page, so I'm sure he'll be good with it.
I'm sure a lot of people would be impressed with that if you wrote that it was from your 15-year-old son.
Yes, yeah, I'll share it. I'm sure he'll let me. And then also just, this is kind of a funny story. So he wanted these like really expensive shoes for school. So this year I was like, this is the budget you have. This is what you can spend. They're like Nike Air Force. They're like coming back in. They used to be a thing back in the day. So he buys them with his money. And then a second later, like they came in the mail, and I'm like, what did you do to your shoes? He put verses all over them. He wrote all over them. But it's verses and like Jesus loves you. And so it's like, I can't complain.
Oh, that's
like,
cool.
I guess they fit, right? We're not sending those back. But he has verses all over his shoes. Like he is totally like,
that's awesome.
ashamed at high school, and I'm so proud of him.
Good for him. That's awesome.
And yeah, it's just like making me cry just thinking about how much God has healed his heart, and obviously
Praise God.
He still misses his dad. Another thing that happened, I haven't read the paper yet, but he wrote a paper about his dad. He just told me for his sophomore English class. He's like, I wrote this story about me in baseball and daddy. And his teacher was like, did you use AI? Like he thought he cheated. And I was like, why did he ask that? I'm like, doesn't he know your story? Because this teacher has had all 3 of my kids. So I was like, what? But it was because he talked to him the next day, and I was like, if he doesn't believe you, I will call him. I will tell him it's true. But I guess his writing had improved so much from the year before that he was like, whoa, this is such great writing. And Peyton was like, well, I just kind of scraped by last year. Like he gets it. Like we talk about, even if you don't love school, like doing everything for God, like doing your best, even if it's something you don't love. So I feel like that's translated to his schoolwork too, because he's actually like trying. And he's all like, just we need to tell everybody about Jesus. And like he has this sign in his room that says, make heaven crowded. And I was like, that's cool.
That's awesome.
That. And he has, lots of questions, tons of questions. And it's just been really, really exciting to see. And last night he asked me more about, which it's all in another episode, I won't get all into it, but the vision I had when Luke was dying, he wants to learn more. Okay, I told him about that maybe like 6 months ago, and he was asking me more details about it last night. And so, you really think you saw Jesus, and like what happened? And it was just, it's cool that he cares
awesome.
about all this stuff now. And like, anything that has to do with his dad, he has lots of questions, wants to know more. And he's told me before, like I only, like, and your kids, they were even younger. He says like, I only had 12 years. I only had, and I feel bad for him. And anyways, I just went off on a total thing, but I guess it kind of goes
that's awesome.
Like how God can heal your kids too. Like never stop praying for your kids, because they can be healed. And it's interesting how they all deal with it in different ways. And I also believe counseling has helped Peyton. He goes to counseling now.
Oh, good for him.
Because when he was feeling anxiety, I'm like, you need to go to counseling. And he finally did. And he loves it. He's like, she gets me. Like, yes.
That's cool. Yeah. What a great young man. That's awesome.
Yes. Anyway, so proud of him. Anything else we want to say about purpose and pain?
Well, I just want to ask you, is that your half-shaved dog in the background?
Yes. No, he's all the way shaved now. He
Oh,
just
that's
still-
right.
We took him back. He got fixed. He
Because
just-
Joel used his pliers, I remember
No,
now.
oh, I need to correct it. He's like, it was not pliers, it was wire cutters. Big difference. Like, he wasn't just yanking at it with pliers. He was.
No,
using
I didn't think
wires.
that. I pictured he was using pliers. I was picturing like needle nose pliers with the cutters on them.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, he told me that I said it.
But maybe not everyone in the audience was picturing
Yeah.
that. They were like, pliers? Was he just yanking out the hair?
Yes. Yeah.
Sit
So-
still.
Yeah. Anyways, that's my crazy dog you guys just heard because, I don't know, he's just being loud. But anything
No,
else
yeah.
on this subject today?
Oh, I think that's about it.
Okay. Would you like to pray us out?
Yes, I would.
Okay.
Lord, just thank you so much. Just like to praise your name for all of the wonderful things that you have brought through difficult times, and that you have allowed us to use our pain for purpose. And I pray that you would do that for everybody listening, that you would allow them to feel like there was a purpose to all of the pain. And I'd like to thank you, Lord, for the restoration and healing that you've done in Peyton's heart. That's just so awesome. What a great testimony of who you are, and none of us are deserving of it, Lord. And I pray for all those in the beginning that haven't experienced the feeling of your hand on our shoulders, holding us and carrying us through this. And I pray that they would feel that soon. I pray that they would be able to look back as we have been able to and see all the amazing ways that you're there for us, even when we can't feel it. I'd just like to pray, Lord, that anybody listening would feel encouragement and would feel a fire lit under them to serve your kingdom, and to serve everybody around them in their community. And I'd like to thank you for having such a humble heart. It's in Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Oh, that's awesome.
God laughs too. God
You
thinks
have
things
an
are funny.
humble heart.
Humble. I'm so honest. Oh wait, never mind. That's not one of those ones.
I know. I said that too. Anyways,
Honest.
honest. If you like this podcast, give us a little bing. 5 stars, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all the places you listen. And if you're on Spotify, just side note, you can see our faces like it's a video. No, Mark doesn't want you to
Terrible.
see our faces. Also on YouTube, you can see our faces. As you guys know, we are part of Widow Goals, which is a nonprofit that I started that we provide podcast, social media, grief recovery scholarships, as well as events and more. And if you've been blessed by this ministry and want to give back, there's a little link in the show notes, and you can give a tax-free gift. Also, if you want to be a guest on our podcast, we have a link in the show notes where you can fill out a form to ask some questions so we can get to know you better. And we'd love to have you on the podcast. And what else? I think that's it. You can find us Instagram, Facebook, all the places.
All the places.
All the places. And get excited about that 100th episode coming up soon.
All around me
Live.
are familiar faces, worn out
Kermit the Frog?
faces.
Oh, wait.
No, this is Kermit. Kermit the Frog. Kermit!
Oh, that was Miss Piggy. No,
Yep.
but really, what is that from? Why do I kind of know it?
Oh gosh, Tears for Fears.
Yeah, but it's from, like, the Muppets.
And I find it kind of funny. I find it kind of sad. Yeah.
Okay. That's probably
And-
enough songs. How many this time? Like 10?
14.
14 that we sang about? I think that's
Yeah.
good. I think we're good.
No, I don't know. There's a song
Okay.
count. If you look on the right side, the screen, there's a song count. You looked.
I did. Like, that's a new feature. There's a song count. All right. Well, thanks everybody for listening. That's the word I'm looking
Yes.
for. And we will see you next time.
God bless you.
Bye.